everyone. My name is Matthew Norwood. I'm a SE for Airhive Networks. I cover 4 states in the kind of the south region of the U.S. SE, I'm technically a systems engineer. Some people may be known as sales engineers. And I kind of just wanted to give a talk about what's it like on the inside from a vendor perspective. Now, if you're a partner, there's going to be a lot of things that overlap that you're accustomed to. And if you work for another vendor, well, let me actually just go to my next slide. Not every vendor SC is going to operate the same. Territories are different. How you deal with customers are different. Companies are different. You may do no post-sales whatsoever and only pre. You may do a mix, whatever. I do a mix at Airhive, but I just wanted to mention that. And by the way, I don't usually make my own slides. I have marketing teams that I can just pull from that pool. So these slides are really for me just to keep on track. Otherwise, I wouldn't use a single slide at all. But the main thing, not every SE is going to be the same. And the second thing is you're selling to a human just as much as you're selling technology. So we've heard a lot of technical stuff. This is probably going to be the least technical pitch or talk that you're going to have here at WLPC, but you people voted for it, so you get what you pay for. You're selling to humans. Technology is great. Everything you've seen, that all has to get packaged up and sold to a person. But at the end of the day, it's groups of individuals coming together to make a transaction, and hopefully everyone walks away happy. All right, so I broke the components of a sale down into, like 7 different sections. Some of these overlap, but this is kind of how I look at it, how I approach it. Again, I'm not claiming to be the authority on this. I've been on the end customer side, I've been on the partner side, and I've been on the vendor side, and this is just kind of how I function out there in the field with my sales partner. So get in. This is the first thing you got to do, right? No one's going to buy your product if they don't know anything about it, and I got to get in there and actually talk to whoever it is that's going to be able to sign that check or say yes to that product. There's basically 3 ways we get in. The first one is the preferred method. The customer reaches out. Hey, we want to come talk. Can you send someone to come take us to lunch or talk to us about whatever? That's what we want, right? Because that tells me you're aware of the brand at least enough to reach out and contact us, and we didn't have to go hunt you down and harass you over LinkedIn or however we do it. The second way is a partner brings us in. This is the second preferred method. As a vendor, I want partners out there slinging for me. And in turn, I'm going to try and help the partner get as much professional services dollars or other business as I can. And so if the partner brings me in, maybe they have a good relationship, maybe they don't, but the fact is, I as a vendor didn't have to go out and do that. The third way is if we as the vendor find a way to get into the account. There are a number of ways to do that. I'm not going to go through, so I'm going to peel back the covers from my perspective, but I'm not going to pull it all the way down to my feet, right? So there's just, if Keith would have given me 3 hours to talk, then maybe, but I doubt you people want to sit here and listen to me talk about this for 3 hours. So 30 minutes will have to do. So vendor reaches out to the customer, we get in, it doesn't matter. Either way, we get a meeting. That's what we want. We want to be able to get in front of people and talk to them. So there's some things that happen before we show up at the customer's location. There will be strategy. We will determine everything we can about that customer. Maybe we already have some information, maybe we don't. But we're going to dig and we're going to find out things like, what is your business model? What are you doing? How could I possibly find a way to talk to you in which you would say, oh, that's great. That technology is something I need. I want to get you to the point to where you light up like my children do on Christmas morning. And you're basically screaming, take my money, like everyone does every time Apple or Google has an event and the latest crazy thing comes out and we're all willing to part with all of our money to buy whatever it is that is. So we're going to talk about strategy. We're going to talk about who's at the meeting. I need to know who's sitting across the table from us or wherever we are. If I have a list of all the people and at a time I have their names, great. There are plenty of ways to find out a lot of things about individuals. Some of them are very creepy, and if I went into them, you'd probably be freaked out. Not that you haven't done some stalking on your own, right? I mean, we all do this. But there's ways that we can find out who you are. Maybe I can find out what's valuable to you. all sorts of things. So we're going to factor all this in before we even come on site. If I know who the incumbent vendor is, and again, there are ways to find out. If I've never set foot in your company, there are plenty of methods to find out what vendors you're using. So if I know what that is, I can prepare ahead of time, right? I mean, I should be able to pitch against any of my competition. And so by knowing who it is, I can prepare even more ahead of time. And then if I, as a vendor, am going in there with a partner, we need to determine what the roles are. Is it a strong partner lead? Is it more of a vendor lead? Is the partner just doing a handoff and the vendor takes over? Or do the vendor, we sit back and let the partner do all the work? Right? I mean, we have to know what's going to happen when we walk into that room. Otherwise, we end up just talking over each other and looking very confused and looking like a bunch of idiots. And that's the last thing we want to look like. We may leave and you'll call us idiots, but at least, during the meeting, we don't want to just portray complete ignorance. So let me just pause for 1 second here. If I sound like more of a salesperson and less of a token SE, you're right. I'm in sales. I roll up to the sales organization. Yes, I have a CW&E. Yes, I've done work with a bunch of different vendors and have scars like a lot of you, but my job is to move product. I can't pretty it up. I can't make it nice. I can't go in there and high five everyone. We go to lunch and I go home and nothing ever gets sold and you turn around and buy something else. So if it sounds, I don't want to use the word sleazy because that's not a good word. But if it sounds like I'm being real salesy, sorry, it's my role. It's to move product. I don't get to, play in my home lab all day, even though I wish I could. All right, so and after we get in, there's still some information I need before I sit down and we talk, before the technical pitch begins. I've got some additional information, but I got to do it quick. I got to think fast. I got to show up hopefully early so I have time to hang out and wait in your lobby because there are some things I need to know. If I don't know who the incumbent vendor is for wireless, I'm going to find out. Because the first thing I'm going to do, like many of you do, when I walk into a building, what do we do as wireless people? We look up. You may do a speed test, Jennifer. That's a good point. I don't have time to do the speed test. I'm looking up. And if I don't see it, I'm pulling my phone. As long as I'm not talking to someone, it looks like I'm sitting over there checking email. I'm pulling up airport. I'm scanning. I find a MAC address. I take that MAC address, I take the OUI, I find out who the vendor is. So when I walk into that room, if I haven't seen an AP, maybe you're one of those people the organizations that hide them above the ceiling tiles or use clever antennas to actually obscure where the actual AP is. I want to know who that vendor is before you even tell me. Maybe you'll tell me, maybe you won't. But I want to know that when I sit down. And then we're going to do the small talk, the intro. Hey, how's it going? How are you? Blah, blah, blah. All of that's, genuine, not fake, but exchange pleasantries. There are things that happen in that small talk. Sometimes you walk into a potential customer and they start bearing their soul. Oh, I'm having this problem and that problem and blah, blah, blah. You're soaking all that in. You're taking that in. I'm listening. I'm not agreeing with you, high-fiving you, going, yeah, we're going to replace all that. I'm simply listening to find out what it is that's causing you problems. Or maybe there aren't any problems. But in the course of small talk, you might say, oh, I'm perfectly happy with vendor X. Okay. I'm taking all that in and adding that to the mix of things that's going to affect how I pitch. We may ask general questions to figure out more information. Just general things. Well, what are you doing about this? Or I noticed that your organization does this kind of work. How do you deal with this, that, or the other? General information. Again, I'm not doing a hard sell. I'm simply adding that. So we've got in. We've done some digging on that company. I've done my last minute on the fly kind of technical things. And so we're ready to make the pitch. Bear with me. I'm on PTO, so I haven't been talking as much here like I do in my usual sales gig. But okay, so now I got to pitch you. I got to make the pitch. I've got all my information. I've formulated a strategy. I've listened to what you're saying. And now it comes down to making the actual sale. Now, based on what I know about that customer, based on what you've just told me, we sit down and I don't have a standard pitch. There is no template. It's not the same pitch every single time because every single place is different. I have to be very in tune with my sales partner, and he and I, when we go out and sit down, and if we're with a partner, in tune with that partner, and understand enough about how each other operates to where we can pretty much operate off nonverbal cues. Like, it's just a look, right? I've been married for 17 and a half years to the love of my life, wonderful woman, but we communicate so much without even saying a word. I'll look over and I can see if she's disappointed in me, or I've done something wrong, or if I need to go deal with the kids because they're getting out of hand without saying a word. I need to have that. In fact, let's just call him Chris. That's actually his name, so it's a good one. But Chris is my sales partner. I call him my Aerohive spouse because we have that kind of, I talk to him more than I talk to my wife in the course of a given day when I'm outside of the home. Constantly. You look at my phone, top number of calls is Chris and I talking to each other. I have to have that relationship to where we can look at each other and know, does he lead off? Do I roll right into it? How's this going to play, right? And that just comes with experience and working with each other. So, I want to make sure I finish on time. I need to understand, again, who's in the room and determine the technical level of that pitch, but I also have to be able to read that room and adjust. Maybe some people showed up at the last minute that we didn't know were going to come. Maybe it's that engineering group and they're really invested in whoever the incumbent vendor is and they're going to be hypercritical. I have to be able to read that room. I need to cue on all sorts of things. Body language is huge. From the point in which you shake my hand, I am figuring out how you shook my hand because how you shook my hand tells you how you view me in our relationship. Unless you've been trained in body language and then you're trying to make me think you're open, but you're not. But that generally isn't the case unless you're probably a politician. So I'm taking all that body language, reading the room, adjusting on the fly. Is this group getting annoyed? Who's the real decision maker? Is everyone deferring to one person? Is everyone able to speak their mind? Is anyone asking any questions at all? Or are they just kind of sitting there? All of those things are taken into account. Again, it's people selling people, right? The product is important, but the product is not the end-all be-all. If it was, we would be down to like one vendor or two vendors. Instead, we have tons of them. All right, so no template. I got to understand who's in the room. I got to read that room. I need to highlight what differentiates my solution, whatever company I'm with, and kind of give you that picture, but in consideration with whatever your needs are as a customer. But I don't need to spend time on things you don't care about. If there are things that you've talked to me about that I know are important, and there's other things that my solution does, maybe you don't care about it. I'm not going to waste time on that at all. Unless I'm trying to fill dead time just talking, which is usually not a good thing. I'm not going to waste time on that. I'm just going to focus on the things that are important to you. I want to get in and get out. I don't want to sit there all day and wear you out like you're buying a car. That's not it at all. I want to get out of there and I want to go feed the baby, right? I like to eat lunch. Let's go. Let's go get a burger or something. Enough of this work talk, right? I don't want to bore you to death. Which brings up the human factor. I talked about a minute ago, reading the room and body language. Humans are tricky. All of us are tricky. We're all complicated. We may say, oh, I'm a basic individual with basic needs. Every one of us in here is complicated. And so dealing with groups and trying to get, especially someone who is invested in a certain vendor's technology or a certain way of doing things, and they've done that for years and they make their living off of that, and here you are coming in with your new shiny fancy product trying to get rid of me so they can outsource my job to someone. Those kind of things come up. You need to be aware of that. People are tricky. And more importantly, you need to know when to shut up. Shut up and let the customer talk or let that partner talk. I've been in meetings where a competitor's name came up, the customer starts talking about all the negatives of that solution. I don't have to say anything. I'm not going to mess that up. I'm not getting in front of that freight train. If they're going to sit there and tell me all the reasons they're not going to buy from one of my competitors, I am not going to say a word. Just keep talking. Keep talking, because it's your own ideas. I haven't fed that into you. So the pitch has been made. What happens with the pitch? Inevitably, the objections come up. They might come up in the middle of your pitch. It might not even be 2 minutes into a demo or a slide or a whiteboard presentation, but the objections will come up. Or maybe they come up at the very end. There's ways that, from a sales perspective, I have to deal with that. Maybe I push you in a different direction. Maybe the feature you're looking for is something that I don't have, but maybe I have another way to get you there, and so I need to position an alternative way. May not always work. Depends on the sophistication of the customer, too. There's some folks out there. I cover Mississippi, Alabama, Kentucky, and you would think if you go out in the middle of nowhere and talk to someone, oh, this will be a piece of cake. There are people out there, just outliers, that have a phenomenal grasp on the market and technology. And when they bring you in, they can start picking apart your solution. I don't care what vendor you are. There are people out there that are that skilled enough to pick it apart, and you would never think, because they're working at a small little company or some school district out in the middle of nowhere. There are those people. So you always have to be aware of that. If you say, I need this feature, I need this product, ask them why. It says, get them to tell you. I'm really asking, why do you need this? If they can articulate that very well, I need this because of X, Y, and Z. Valid point. Well, let me move on. If they can't articulate it from a psychological perspective, for example, I go to my wife, my family accountant, I wish to procure this item. Why do you need that item? Well, dear, I need that item because I want it. That's not enough. So what do? I spend $2,250 of my own money to attend a wireless conference to get a 3D printer. That's how I was able to get mine. So, get them to tell you. If they can't tell you why, maybe that causes them to second guess and think, you know what, I really don't need that feature. Maybe I'm asking for too much. If what they want is on my roadmap and I know about it and I'm allowed to tell them, tell them. But be realistic. Don't just say Q3. Right? That's a standard answer. When's it coming? Q3 or next quarter. If I know it's coming this quarter, I may say next quarter. If I know it's coming next quarter, I may say 6 months from now. I want to under-commit and over-deliver. I don't want it to be the other way around, right? So you got to be careful when you're talking, especially if they're net new customers that don't have NDAs, things like that. There's certain things I may not even say. I may know something's coming, but I may never mention it at all. That partner may or may not know it's coming, and if we strategize, there are certain things we're just not going to talk about. Overall, I have to be candid about what my product can and cannot do. Sometimes you just got to call it like it is. As an SE, I'm supposed to be the technical, levity in that discussion. Product doesn't do that. Product does this. I have to sell what I have, not what I want, right? You just got to be straightforward with folks. And the big thing, it doesn't matter what my personal feelings are. It doesn't matter if I would ever do that in a network. If I've seen it done in the past and it failed, it doesn't matter. It's the customer's network. They have the right to do whatever they want. I can simply offer advice. Here's how I would do it. Same goes with a partner. We tell them, but it doesn't matter. They're going to do what they want to do. It's not my place to tell them. I will never call their baby ugly. Right? So we can all get together on social media, on Twitter and Slack, and there's some great discussions, and people make you think about different ways of doing things. But when it comes to technology and sales, I have no absolutes. Doesn't matter what anyone else says. It matters what is that customer going to do, what does that customer care about. And I've never had a customer ask me, hey, did you see that discussion the other night on Facebook or whatever? And wow, I've really decided to change my ways. It's their network. They do what they want. I simply offer a product that may or may not have those features. All right, I've overcome the objections. I've made the pitch, and now I have to defend against the competition. Because while I'm trying to get in and sell product, my competition is out there, and I work for a smaller vendor, Aerohive. There are far more of them out there trying to take deals away from me, trying to take food away from my children than I am trying to take food away from their children, right? So I got to know kind of the lay of the land when it comes to my competition. I may not have to know deep things about every single vendor, but I do know who my top competitors are in a given part of my region, and I will focus on that. I have a decent amount of lab gear at home. Some of it I can actually get licenses for. Some of it that's just a shot against the Aruba folks. Their licensing game is very, very strong. Don't buy off eBay, buy new. There you go. Public service message from Matthew Norwood. I need to know about my competitors. I need to give my customer an idea or potential customer of what might be said. Hey, just want to let you know, in case anyone says it, yes, we can do that. Yes, this works, right? It's going to happen. I wish we didn't have to deal with FUD, that fear, uncertainty, and doubt, but it happens. So I need to kind of arm them with that, but I need to do it gently. I don't need to sit there and try and to them like they're a small child. Hey, just in case, oh, by the way, solution does this, solution does that. Don't worry about it if you're told anything otherwise. And then I also got to be available, highly available whenever issues come up, another competitor comes in. I'm telling you, deals happen almost down to the wire sometimes. Sudden competition's in play. Your competitor shows up and everything you've worked for months can be gone in a matter of hours or days because your competition came in and was able to sell on one or two things that you can't do, and at the last minute the customer said, I'm going to go this way. It happens all the time. So you need to be available and in constant communication while that's going on. And then also I need to respect the partner's role in this stage. When we're defending, the partner to do all the actual defending, and I guess I'm going to stand right here, sound works. If the partner wants to do all the heavy lifting and compete against other partners or other vendors, let them do it. They probably have a better relationship than you do, especially if it's a brand new one. And so just get out of the way. All right, close that deal. We've got to lock it down. Got to make sure that they buy from me, that they buy my widget, and that everything is happy and there's no issues. Again, partners driving that deal, I'm getting out of the way as a vendor. I don't want to get in the middle of that and mess things up unless the partner decides to go rogue at the last minute, and say, hey, well, forget this vendor. Have you seen this vendor, right? Because the partner's trying to close the deal too. They're trying to get paid. The partner has a luxury that I don't have as a manufacturer. They have more than one widget. They can push a number of things. And sometimes a partner might go in, pitch in multiple vendors. And so you don't want to get in the way of the partner, but at the same time, if the partner is, possibly going to take them in another direction at the last minute, you have to be able to step in and say, I have partner 2.0 over here, new and improved, and bring them in. Or maybe you just patch it up with the actual partner. Your proof of concept testing must work. If I do a POC, a lot of times in my role, I want to do a POC. I want to put gear in your hands. You go play with it. Let me know what you like. Let me know what you don't like. It's got to work. Minimal problems only. If nothing works, if nothing onboards, if the performance is horrible, then guess what? I'm not getting a sale. Not going to happen. So it's got to work. Again, it got to be highly available for that customer in the final part of that, closing that deal. And a big part of the deal is a local sales team. Now, this might differ based on where you're at in the world, but the states that I operate in, it's very much they're buying the product and they're buying their local sales team. When something goes wrong, if I can't get through with support, I need to know that local team's going to be there. I have got in my car and driven hours, stayed in a hotel, woke up early the next morning to be on site at a customer that's having a problem, and that customer isn't necessarily one that's spending millions of dollars a year. I'm trying to, show that customer that I'm there to actually support you. So they need to know that we're there to support them after the sale. And then also, one little actually salesy thing is the vendor might ask you, we might ask you, hey, when are you going to make this purchase? How much do you think you'll make the purchase for? Not all as nefarious, I want to figure out what my bonus is so I can, buy that 3D printer that my wife won't let me have. It's pipeline. Throw it in your pipeline. Any of you that are on the partner side or the vendor side know about pipeline. You throw it in there, here's the deals I'm working on. But the minute you throw something in your pipeline, sales leadership starts tracking that deal, right? And they'll start asking you about it. But that's how the sales teams operate. You got to throw it in the pipeline. So that happens. And sometimes for inventory purposes, if I'm dealing with a customer that wants to order, 10,000 of a particular unit that may not be the most popular unit sold, I kind of got to let my folks know back at corporate, hey, if this deal goes through, be prepared. We're going to need to crank out, 1,000 more units than we normally keep in stock. So that's not always a, hey, when are you going to buy? Sometimes there are legitimate reasons behind that. Okay, so we made the sale. You are now my customer. But selling you is easy. Keeping you is even harder, especially as time goes on and newer stuff comes out and all of a sudden your APs are a generation or two behind and the competition comes in and says, check this out. And everyone goes, whoa, So I got to retain that customer. I've got to make sure that I'm in constant communication with them. If there's a good relationship with the partner, again, I get out of the way. Let the partner do their thing. Let the partner, keep that relationship tight. I communicate on a regular basis with the partner, also with the customer, but I also have to understand how often they want to be contacted. Nobody likes phone calls. Nobody likes emails constantly. I do not want to harass someone. Tell me how you want me to contact you, and I will do it. Do you want me to come out once a quarter, give you a roadmap presentation? Do you want me to call you once a month? Do you want me to call you once a week? Do you want me to just email you every now and then? You tell me. Now, they're probably not going to tell me unless I ask, but I need to be aware of that. So I bother them. All right. Let's see. Yeah, so anything that comes up from a customer, I need to respond in a timely manner. This is highly subjective. I will not answer emails when I'm at 70 miles an hour. It's just not going to happen. A lot of times I'll answer an email within 24 hours and I'll tell someone that. I'll answer you, but it may be 24 hours till I get to the hotel room and can catch up. But I communicate to that customer, and I need to keep them in the loop on things that are coming. Again, roadmap things or issues that may come up from a support perspective that they may need to be aware about. Hey, be aware that this is a problem right now, or be aware that this thing is coming out and it's going to fix whatever that issue was, or it's something you've been asking for. And so I've got 2 minutes left. I just want to real quick, customer versus the actual partner. Hold on, try over here. Versus the partner. So technical information sharing, information that I share with a customer may not be as intense as the information I share with a partner. Right? That's just the nature of the beast. That might change. I might actually share the same amount of information with a customer, depending on what the ask is, but partners typically are more in the know about what's going on, or should be more in the know than the actual customers, because more things will apply to a partner than a specific customer. And then competitive, I'll talk with a partner about competitive, maybe help them figure out strategies to sell against another competitor. They may already be fine in that area, but they may not. It just depends on the partner. But I'm going to help them by sharing what I know. I'm not going to fill them full of FUD and lies. It's only things that I can actually validate. But I will share that information with them, and generally not with the customers. But if a customer asks me, here's the thing about being an SC. You ask me a very direct question, I will give you a very direct answer. I don't care what that question is, as long as it's not intellectual property that my company forbids me from sharing. If you ask me about something, I will give you a direct answer. That may not always make the salesperson in the room with you happy, but I'm certainly not going to lie to you. That's going to be far worse in the end, lie my way through something. All right, so what can a vendor SE do for you? I think this is my last slide, second to last slide. From a customer perspective, SEs can help you with training. How do you use the product? Maybe the SE comes in and trains you, or maybe the SE sends you to a class, gives you a voucher, whatever. Roadmap, again, talking about what things are coming from the product's perspective. Design help. Hey, how do I deploy this product? How do you as the vendor expect me to deploy this? Now the partner has a part in all of that. And so I may not have to do really any of that stuff. The partner might handle it. But from a partner perspective as well, the SE can help the partner train, use that product, can help the partner with actual roadmap, more in depth than the customer, and then enablement. I can give you gear. I can give you a trunk special. Dig into my trunk and come up with a couple APs. It's really not that hard to do. All right, and last but not least, the vendor SE is there to support you as a customer and a partner. If you need help from them, let them know. If they won't help you, maybe you need or another SE. That's all I got. Thanks, folks.